talking about wanting to be the straw that stirs the drink for Cat, Gobert, Anthony Edwards, and all these young wing players and whatnot. So I came away reading his comments to John Krasinski thinking he's not thrilled with how the season ended. And I wouldn't be either, but I think you have to have some understanding, which he does. That he acknowledged he didn't play well. The guy shot 33% for the second. Like, he shot 33% the first time he was in the playoffs with Brooklyn. So we've got 11, 12 games of sample here, and he shoots 33% in the playoffs, which is not very good. So he kind of understands that he's got to play better, and it's been part of his motivation. He wants an extension, but, kind of what we were talking about with Doogie, this just feels like for both parties involved, all right, your value's kind of sunk right now. You're a good player, and you had a good season, but the lasting memory is just the train wreck playoff performances and the blown leads to Memphis. So you're going to make $30+ million this year, contract season, and you're going to play with two of like the 5 best pick and roll big men in the entire league in different ways, in Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So it's going to be open season for you as a point guard to leverage those guys into your own big season. And then maybe you get paid by the Timberwolves or somebody else on a 4-year deal at the end of it. And if I'm the Timberwolves, I can say, well, we're not really sold because, A, we're already paying a ton of money to some other players, and Anthony Edwards is going to be up in a couple years for a max contract too. And we're not really thrilled with how you performed, D'Lo, in the playoffs, and so we'd kind of like to just see what you got in a contract year. They can kind of use each other in the best possible way, is the way I look at this thing.
Absolutely, and it's perfect. And the thing is, we don't even know yet what Conley and Finch as a duo exactly want in a point guard. And so this might not be their guy. Like, this might be a guy that they sort of are like, okay, he's a good player, but he's not a great player, but we can certainly maximize him right now. But yeah, I think it's a smart of D'Lo and his camp to bet on themselves. And I think the Wolves are very wise to say, those contract talks, let's not do that yet. If you have a great year, that's awesome. We'll have to pay then. Or like Phil said, somebody's going to have to pay. But yeah, to me, this is right now in July, a win-win to just stop. Hard stop, allow it to play out. And the thing about the benching at the end of the Grizzlies series is, and it sounds like from his quotes, he did eventually get it.
Yeah.
That was, to me, part of what makes Chris Finch good.
Yes.
Because that benching, because if you're a coach on the hot seat, or you're a coach who doesn't really, who's like, I don't know if I can bench a star. I mean, in today's NBA, what Chris Finch did took some balls. Because there's a lot of coaches that would not, D'Lo might be struggling, but they'd be like, well, he's D'Lo, I have to play him. And I love the fact that Chris Finch did that. And D'Lo is a weird guy, but I think he's a smart guy. And that benching was you might not like this, but you need to understand it. And if you don't, this is trouble. And look, there was because Duke is right. D'Lo had a really nice year. And in the playing game against the Clippers, he saved their bacon. Like, he was.
Absolutely.
Cat was awful. Cat was a non-factor.
Yep.
But in that playoff series, and there were things around there where it sort of started to go south. And if you're going to be the point guard, I think you need to have an understanding of that when things start to go south, you can't join the Titanic. Like, you got to lead this thing. So I thought that idea to bench him was really, really smart. And I think it would be an equally as smart move from both ends to allow this thing to play out. And you know what? If he's great, fantastic. Yeah. If he's not, you're not stuck.
Sometimes there can be a lack of basketball self-awareness with D'Angelo Russell that's kind of shocking to me, because you watch him play at his best, and he's an orchestrator of offense. He's a brilliant passer. He's a brilliant prober on offense, a guy that can
no question
keep the basketball on a yo-yo string and kind of, okay, I'm going to dribble in here and I'm going to go back out. He can create his own shots. He can get hot from three. And so the best version of D'Lo is a really good player who's gotten a little better at he's not going to be a lockdown defender ever, but he bought into some of the team defense concepts.
Right.
But then there's other times, and in this Athletic article, in one of the paragraphs, Johnny referred to D'Lo as a third scoring option on the team. And I kind of looked at that and I was like, does he know that all the time? Because I think sometimes he thinks he's the number one scoring option on this team. And there are nights where he should be. Like that game against the Clippers, the playing game. All right, this is one of those hot D'Lo nights.
Right.
You're the number one guy. But in most of those games against Memphis, he just, for whatever reason, he wasn't knocking down shots. But then there would come times toward the end of games where, all right, it's been 2 hours, you haven't gotten it going yet. You know, you got 9 points on 13 shots or whatever it is, and Anthony Edwards is on fire over here, and Cat miraculously has stayed out of foul trouble over there, and you're still shooting 20-footers with a hand in your face, or early shot clock three-pointers, sort of heat check three-pointers, and I don't know if some of that can be honed or fixed at this point, where he just has like, I want my point guard to have a really high opinion of his game, but I want him to have some self-awareness in some of those late game moments that he lacked against Memphis.
So it's super weird too, because in watching him from press row, when he's going well, or just solid, and he comes to the bench, or on nights he does not dress to play, he like is into the game. Like he's screaming stuff. Like he knows he's a really smart player. And so I think what happens when things don't go well is he starts to sort of pout.
Yeah.
And he detaches. But like he's not like this aloof point guard who doesn't get it. He definitely, I mean, I've seen him shouting instructions to Cat. He is into the game. And so he definitely has an awareness. I think the problem is when it doesn't go well, he struggles to maintain that. And I don't know if and I guess this is my biggest question for the coming season. When things don't go well shooting wise, can he pivot to become a different player who makes up for that deficiency by helping his team in other ways?
He can. Yeah, he
can, but I don't
feel
that component there internally is consistently there.
I think sometimes, and I might be wrong on this, but I think sometimes at the end of games he feels like, well, the best thing I can do for this team is knock down some shots because he can get buckets when he's hot. But sometimes there's going to be games and he just has to be more aware of this, or has to come to some understanding with Chris Finch, where Finch has to tell him, this is not unless you're wide open and the ball swings back to you, this is not the game where we need you to dribble for 15 seconds and take a contested shot from the elbow. It's not your offensive game. But use your other skill sets to get other guys open. And he does do a lot of that too. But it was just so glaring in that Memphis series. And that's the type of thing that you have to make a decision on as a franchise as you're trying to go from 45 to 50 to 60 wins and win a championship. There are, as I've said for the last 3 months, there are some guys that are here to help you get from non-playoffs to playoffs. And there are some guys who just aren't going to be a part of the journey from 46 wins to 55 or 60 wins. And I think I know how I feel about D'Lo, but I am very curious now that they have made this blockbuster move for an excellent pick and roll man, who, by the way, will help some of the perimeter defenders too, just be able to take more chances and get some more fast breaks on steals, because he's just sitting back there waiting to swat shots away. I'm curious to see if there's another level to D'Lo here in his evolution, in his maturity, now that the Rudy Gobert trade has been solidified.
Comparison for you?
What's that, Judd?
I said comparison, D'Angelo Russell, Kirk Cousins. Are you going to be taken up? Do the changes that have been made by both teams, in the Vikings case, it's the coaching staff. In the Wolves case, it's more Gobert. Do those changes unlock a portion of your game that I think a lot of us assume is just not there now because of time?
And to that point too, just from a salary cap standpoint, it's different in the NBA, right? There's a cap, there's a floor, there's a luxury tax. It's actually a little bit more confusing, but also in a good way. Yeah. It's a soft cap, yeah. Where in hockey, it's a hard flat cap. You cannot go over the $82.5 million. It's set for stone for the next 5 years. So from the Wild standpoint, that's why it was really beneficial. Hey, we're not going to spend a lot on goaltending. So right now the Wild have $4 million spent into goaltending, which is a very volatile position, but also it's not going to shipwreck you from preventing you from building out the roster. And I know they have buyouts that are the biggest thing there, but from a salary cap standpoint, I just don't know from the Wolves' point of view from the long term, if you're going to be paying Gobert, you're going to be paying Towns, you're going to be paying Ant, Jaden's going to be eligible for a max. How does D'Lo how does he fit into all of those plans? And I think the answer, unless he wants to take a drastic discount, which individually I don't think D'Angelo Russell wants to do, I don't fault him for that necessarily. I just don't know how the math works out for the Wolves if they extend D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, actually, Dane Moore does a great job laying this out. I've seen him tweet out some of the multi-year salary cap tables for the Timberwolves. I'm on Spotrac.com right now, and so Gobert and Towns, oh my God, it's just hilarious how much money they're going to be making in 2025-26, so in 3 years from now. Gobert and Towns are going to combine for $100 million. We don't know what the salary cap's going to be. Right now, the cap, I think, is $142 million, something like that. But then Anthony Edwards is going to, his first max contract is going to kick in, I think, in 2 years. And that's going to be like 20 or 30 million or something. That's not quite as ungodly. But yeah, and then you're going to have a more expensive Jaden McDaniels, and I don't know, maybe you got to figure out if Jalen Noel has a breakout year or something. It's hard mathematically without going way into the luxury tax, which maybe Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez will do. I mean, Golden State's paying
They're gonna
crazy luxury tax, but that's because they're in the middle of a dynasty window. And so that's the question. Like, Glenn Taylor has said, I'm not going to pay luxury tax on a team that's fighting for the 8th seed. Right. But if you build something that's maybe above and beyond that, all right, let's talk luxury tax. And that's one of the few things I won't criticize Glenn Taylor for, is not wanting to tap into luxury tax for a team that hasn't made the playoffs more than once in 17 years.
So I just think from a player standpoint, if I'm Conley and Finch, I think D'Angelo Russell is going to give you a better year if he's in a contract year. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying flat out, I don't want to sign him. If I could, I still don't. I'd rather gamble because the Wolves are in a very interesting predicament right now, because they want to be good and establish a foundation which they've lacked for years of consistency. But the Gobert trade also puts immediate pressure to be good right now. And so my question is, if I'm Conley, what's going to get me to where I want to go immediately? And I feel like, especially if he takes a low ball deal with Russell, I feel like I'm rolling the dice. If he's in a contract year, I think I get a guy who shows up training camp day one wanting to show me. And that's exactly what I want. So just from a mental gymnastics mind games way, I think that it makes no sense to sign him to an extension and make him comfortable. I want him uncomfortable and fighting every day. Oh, yeah. He's that type of player to me.
Yeah. I like the year. Yeah, I think we all kind of agree here that this is great for everyone. Dila, you're going to come out of this making a lot of money, even if you don't have a great season. You're going to someone's going to pay you $10 to $20 million to, even if it's a bad team or something. So everyone's going to come out of this fine. I want to touch on this with you guys real quick here. So Bill Simmons put out his NBA trade value rankings, and I don't know, maybe we can do something similar, like our own Minnesota sports trade value rankings next. It might be a fun pecking order next week to do. But at the beginning of, let's see here, he sets this up by explaining that there are sort of 6 set in stone parameters to him ranking the 64 players in order, 1 through 64, of like how willing our team is going to be to trade them. Like, who are the most like untradeable players in the NBA, basically. And his rules are: salaries matter, age matters, contract length matters, happiness matters. So if a player's unhappy, then a team might be more willing to trade him. And then he says bizarre real life trades should affect this list. The Timberwolves just paid 225 cents on the dollar for Rudy Gobert. Then hilariously bragged about how they held on to Jaden McDaniels afterward. If the Celtics made a trade like that, you'd find me in the fetal position in the middle of the Pine Barrens forest 80 hours later. I had Gobert in the mid-40s before this ridiculous trade. Today, maybe he cracks the top 30. How could Minnesota trade him now? And how could Brooklyn trade KG for anything less, or KD for anything less? So I just find it kind of funny that Bill Simmons, 2 weeks later, is still he's mad that the Wolves are hilariously bragging about how they held on to Jaden McDaniels, because nobody watches Timberwolves basketball. Nobody knows who Jaden McDaniels is or Jalen Noel. Yep. People barely knew who Anthony Edwards was until that playoff series last year. So, I don't know. But on this list, He's got 64 players ranked in different categories. So like the bottom category, 64 through 58, is quality starters. And then there's the upside gang. And then there's the Ginobili's, the guys who kind of rise up in the playoffs. And then there's the Westbrooks, regular season guys who kind of shrink in the playoffs. And then I'm just going to skip a couple groups here and get to the Group F, which is if you tell Woj, I'll deny it to the death, but I am listening on these guys in terms of their trade value. Number 27, Zach LaVine. Number 26, Pascal Siakam. Number 25, Rudy Gobert. Number 24, Karl Anthony Towns. 23, Kawhi Leonard. 22, Zion Williamson. So all really good players, a lot of big men in here that teams aren't looking to trade or publicize it, but if you made the right offer, I'm open to it. I don't know if I'd put Towns in that category. I don't think the Timberwolves were looking to move Towns, but it's interesting.
I don't think that there's a chance in hell now, too. Like, I now believe at least what Conley has said. I think that they see Towns as a foundational piece. I think the Wolves more accurately see Towns as their version of what the Vikings right now feel Kirk is, which is you don't get it. We're going to unlock him. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
And look, with the direction that they are now taking things, I'm inclined at this point to trust them. I think that there was a chance with Gerson before that if calls were made on Cat, he probably picked up the phone and didn't slam it down immediately. I think Conley and Finch are pretty set here. Now, this all banks on a couple of important things, and the most important one is, can you get Cat now, given the fact he's going to be put in a complete position to succeed, to stop the complaining, to stop the whining, to stop the pouting, and to just play. And if you can, congratulations, because you've unlocked something there. But yeah, I would take Towns off that list now. I definitely would. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think he's further down. So let's skip ahead here, because the real headline here is where he has some of the top 10 players. Let's go up to Group A, the completely and utterly untouchable players in the league. He has 4 of them. Giannis, number 1. Luka, number 2. Jokic, number 3. Steph Curry, number 4. And then there's Group B, which is the untouchables. So not completely, utterly untouchable, but untouchable, okay?
I love this.
Number 5 is Ja Morant. Number 6 is Joel Embiid. Number 7 is Jason Tatum. Number 8 is Anthony Edwards. It's pretty good company.
Yeah.
And I agree. I don't think I'm trying to think of who in the NBA would I trade Anthony Edwards in any sort of package for.
And
I think there's some guys in Group A here. Like if the Bucks inexplicably said, "All right, we're good with 1 championship and we're shopping Giannis," I would say,
Kareem?
okay. Here's Anthony Edwards. Luka, this might sound crazy. I don't know that I would trade Anthony Edwards for Luka.
Oh, okay. First of all, I love the kid. Like
Luka's
Luka's
never going to play defense. He's going to be out of shape.
Yeah, this is the problem. This guy any year could show up looking like Elvis circa 1976.
I know. I'm a little worried about that.
He did last year. Now, he actually lost weight in season where he noticeably thinned down. Luka is alone with the price of admission if he's playing in your building. So I will say that. I love watching him. But I'm not doing that trade. No way.
Oh, God,
no
we're
way.
crazy. We're going to get shredded for saying that. But
Really?
Yeah.
Have
dude.
you seen how fat this guy is going to end up
I would take Luka.
looking like
I would
a
take
house?
Luka.
Really? See,
I'm
I
going to stand by my take, but Declan's right.
okay.
I
Here's
am
my thing with
entrenched
Ant.
in the wrong take here because
Yeah.
I love Anthony Edwards. But
Here's my thing with Ant, though. And this is the thing that people forget. You have to watch personalities and intangibles. Ant is the thing that drives me crazy about Cat is he whines, he complains, and I don't think that if you were to name a captain of the Wolves, that he should get that title. Ant should. Ant is taking control of the franchise both on and off the floor as far as the personality goes. When you are willing to show up as fat as Doncic gets, that becomes a major concern. It does. Like
he
you
misses a
can't
bunch
dismiss
of
that.
games too, man. He definitely he's
He's
the most games he's
Dex,
played
I
in the
love
last 3
watching
years
him.
is 66.
He's top 5 in my players to go watch. I've gone to a couple games. It's off the charts. I just don't know if I want to inherit a guy who I can't count on to take the game. I think the problem is the game comes easy to him.
Yeah,
I really think that's the problem. And look, he's great.
I think it's insane to say that, and I stand by it, that you wouldn't trade Anthony Edwards for Luka. But I feel like Anthony Edwards' peak is higher than Luka's. I don't think Luka's ever going to be a defender. I think Anthony Edwards could be a lockdown defender throughout his career if he decides to be. So the other guys on the A list, okay, would you trade Anthony Edwards for Jokic? It's complicated because if it was like straight up without any other context, the answer is yes. But the fact that you have Gobert and Cat on your team,
Just nothing but trees.
it'd be hilarious to watch that, wouldn't it? All right, Cat's at the 3, Jokic at the 4, and then Gobert at the 5. I don't know. Just figure it out against a small
Cat
lineup.
run the point too with those salaries.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic can run the point. Steph Curry's too old. You wouldn't make that trade now because he's 33, 34 years old.
Now, yeah.
Ja Morant, give me the bigger bodied guy. Give me how many guys like Ja Morant have been these fun Energizer Bunny regular season players, Russell Westbrook, Allen Iverson, etc., and they just don't do as much damage in the postseason because the game is different.
If I get T as well, I consider the trade.
If you get what? You cut out there for a
sitting
second.
courtside. T Morant. If T comes and he sits courtside, that was one of the most fun things to watch. He was great. But yeah, I mean, and here's my question about Ja's effectiveness long term, because he's not big and he is, and it's a credit to him, willing to get his ass kicked. How long is he going to be a truly effective player?
That's my point. Yeah,
before he starts to wear down.
I think that style of play is very demanding, and he don't get me wrong, he's going to be great until he's like 30, but
sure.
Then once you get into your early 30s, unless he develops a much better shot, if he never develops a shot, then his game is going to be shot by the time he's like 30 or 31. But he's still going to be great for almost a decade. I don't know that I would trade Ant for him. Maybe we're overvaluing Ant's upside, but I'm willing to gamble on it. So I guess Giannis is about the only guy that I would 100% trade Anthony Edwards for in this collection.
Wow.
Fascinating exercise.
I feel like that's nuts, but yeah. I feel like it's nuts.
Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum.
I don't
those
like
guys
him.
are. I'm not saying that he's better than those guys right now. I'm just saying,
Right.
like,
The Doncic
his upside
thing,
is crazy.
hot take,
Yeah,
but I
it's a
just
hot
can't
take.
do it.
yeah.
I just can't do it.
You know, it's not
I
a
just
hot
want to drink
take.
beers with Luca in Minneapolis.
Push away
That's
from the
all I want.
table, Luca. Push away from the table.
Was he drinking a beer before one of those playoff games?
No,
Did
that was
someone
fake.
spot him?
That was fake.
Okay.
That was, or it was an old photo. That was not. Yeah, that was not legit.
But the fact that people kind
That
of
would've
paused and were like, "Is that real?" is a testament
Yeah.
to just how much beer he probably drinks. I'll tell you what, Dennis Kirk, and we're going to get to old tweets exposed here in just a moment. Dennis Kirk and DennisKirk.com, partner of ours for a number of years here, helping us out. They will help you out if you are a rider of motorcycles, Harleys, Indians, Metro Cruisers, or sport bikes, with 160,000 parts and accessories in stock, same-day shipping and orders placed before 8 p.m. Get in gear and head to DennisKirk.com. Ride more, wait less. Also, a shout-out to Federated Mutual Insurance Company, and they've just done a ton of work with all of their partners raising money for Big Brothers Big Sisters over the last 17 years, $44 million raised since 2005. And if you want to find out how you can be a big in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program and help children facing adversity with a one-to-one mentoring relationship, go to federatedchallenge.org. Federatedchallenge.org. You could be the difference someone is waiting for. All right, every single week, Declan goes back in the Twitter archives and he finds old incriminating tweets. What do you got for us this week?
All right, let's comb through a Cam Talbot edition of old tweets exposed. Now that he's
boy.
moved on
Oh
to
my.
greener pastures in
This
Ottawa.
won't be kind. Yep.
Let's start with Judd. About in May in 2021 during the Golden Knights series.
And with an impromptu statement that I didn't think of until right now. It's this one.
do you still all want to chant Dubes every time Devin Dubnyk stops a puck that's been shot from center ice? Cam Talbot. I mean, Phil, how long did we talk about through the years? Like, and I know it's considered luck by some, but the fact that a goaltender can flip a series and win you a game, and in fact, at times, probably win you a series, and that the Wild for years has never had that guy. Like, Dubnyk was never that guy. There was always the weird goal that but he would take what looked like a harmless shot, and then it would hit something, and then it would pinball off the boards, and then it would pinball off a helmet.
He was regular season hot goalie is what he was.
Yes,
he was regular season.
But playoff wise, we never said, man, he won you even close to a series, because in fact they simply didn't. What we saw, as the Whisperer pointed out yesterday from Cam Talbot, is why you signed him, and it's also what you need. If you are going to win a series, you are going to have periods where your team does not play great. And the Wild came out and did not look good, and the Golden Knights look fantastic. And yet your goaltender stopped 19 shots and held you in that game, because with Dubnyk, I guarantee you guys, you're down 3-rip, 4-rip, and the game is done, okay? So that's what we've been talking about while everyone was chanting, Dubes, like he's some type of bleeping hero, because, he got hot in January. This is why Bill Guerin said, we're flipping the damn script and we're going to try a different goaltender, because this is what you need to win a series. Without Cam Talbot, you are down 1-rip right.
He's right on Dubnyk. Judd's gone. He's right on Dubnyk.
Wait, wow, hanging Judd out to dry with like a 7-minute clip there too.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't able. I was supposed to clip
killing
the second half of it, and I realized halfway through the playing, I was like, oh, I forgot to have the revised version, but that's okay. We'll just listen to the whole thing.
I think the most important thing is, how fat was my face back
Livia,
then?
man.
Livia. Look at that, folks. Don't listen to the words. Look at the good chiseled looks you get now when you watch Mackie and Judd.
Well, so you were very high on Cam Talbot there, and very low on Devin Dubnyk.
I think I was more bashing Dubnyk than I was praising Talbot, but nonetheless.
So not too long ago, I think maybe towards the end of this regular season, Phil made a point about Cam Talbot of beating the Stanley Cup champions. Let's hear what he had to say.
You need, if you plan on, going deep in the playoffs or upsetting the Avalanche, is elite goaltending.
Man.
And the Wild have that in Cam Talbot, who is one of the hottest goaltenders in the NHL over the past 3 weeks. 7 consecutive wins by Cam Talbot, and 2 goals or fewer allowed in 6 of those 7 wins. It's nice to have a number 1 elite goalie, the caliber of Cam Talbot, with a reliable backup with playoff experience in Marc-Andre Fleury.
I was hacked.
By Cam Talbot.
I was hacked. It was like Face Off. Someone peeled my face off and put it on themselves and put a program to voice box. That was not me. That was not me.
Yeah. Oof.
In fairness, okay, I've never been the hockey guy among the 3 of us. All right, so anything that I say regarding hockey needs to be taken with a giant
The hockey whisperer.
giant grain of salt. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys are the ones that get paid to talk hockey around here.
Here we go.
All right, so
Own your takes.
all right, I'll self-report a tweet here. The date I think is towards the same time Phil was talking about his, but I said, yeah, Joel Eriksson Ek is the hero. He must have scored a game winner. But how about that goaltending room of Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot, which lasted I think together 25 games. So
Yeah.
how about that
that
goaltending? How about that
room?
goaltending room of MAF and Cam Talbot?
But you're not. But that's actually absolutely correct, because it assumed that both the guys in that room would act like adults,
with the Ron Swanson.
and one wouldn't
goal
start
50.
to say, "Oh, but
Well-
what about me? What about my playing time? Why am I the only one on the screen there for a second?" That got very scary.
Well,
Not
I
that
think
good.
only one of us called Cam Talbot an elite Stanley Cup caliber goaltender in there. So I think I'll take credit for the win here today.
Oh, you're gonna take it? I was gonna say it because I mean that clip was so long. I got tired of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a long
My
clip.
Executive producer messed up there. That was my fault.
Yeah, just a 19-minute clip airing Judd out for his Devin Dubnyk
just
takes.
heavy set.
Here's another
Santa
full
Claus
podcast
Judd.
we're going to insert in the middle of this. Anyhow, all right, that's Reckless Speculation Thursday. That is your Mackie and Judd episode. And tomorrow, Action Movie Rewind goes back to 1997. Get off my plane. Air Force One. Declan's first viewing ever of Air Force One. So we'll hit that. It might not be posted till Saturday, but you'll see it sometime in the next couple of days. Mackie and Judd, see you guys.